Beginner lifters should not train like advanced lifters. I know that sounds super obvious, but I see so many beginner lifters go out to the gym and lift like they're C-bomb. A new soccer player wouldn't go out and train like they're Cristiano Ronaldo. A new MMA fighter won't go and spar like Leon Edwards does. The same concept applies for beginner lifters. When you're beginning to lift, it's all about building a solid foundation and eventually progressing to more advanced lifting routines. When I just started lifting weights, I was lost and had no idea what I was doing. Throughout my lifting career and education, I've seen so many mistakes that I've made, as well as observed mistakes that other beginners make when they started lifting. Because I'm here to make fitness great again, I'm going to be going over the top 10 mistakes that beginners make, as well as how to fix them so you can build a solid foundation to start your fitness journey with. And because beginners train differently than intermediate and advanced lifters, stay to the end of the video because I'll give you an exclusive offer. Mistake number 1, ignoring the compound lifts. So there are two kinds of beginner lifters. There's one that goes way too easy and one that goes way too hard. This would fall under the going way too easy category. Some beginner lifters think that the compound exercises are too hard and that they should eventually progress towards them. The compound exercises are the best bang for your buck in terms of exercises, and the only way you're gonna get better at doing compound exercises is, believe it or not, doing the compound exercises. When I started my fitness journey, I didn't want to deadlift, I didn't want to squat, I didn't want to bench. But now that I look back, I should have been starting that right when I started. I would have gone way better at the most important exercises faster and would have built a solid foundation of strength when starting. The reason why I didn't want to squat, bench, or deadlift was because it was hard and I sucked at it. My deadlift and my squat form in particular took forever for me to master. But at the end of the day, practice makes perfect. If you're struggling with the squat and deadlift, it doesn't mean abandon the lift. It means keep doing it until you get better at it. Starting the compound lifts early on will build you a solid foundation of strength that will carry you throughout your fitness journey. Mistake number 2, picking too stable exercises. While I believe it's okay to use machines occasionally while you're starting out to train your nervous system and to learn how to fire your muscles more efficiently, heavily basing your training on machines will not lead to a solid foundation of stability. When people think of bodybuilding, they think of strength and mass, but they never mention stability. Stability is so important, as without stability, you don't have strength. Imagine trying to jump from sand, and now imagine trying to jump from a firm surface. You're obviously going to be able to jump higher from a firm surface because it's more stable, and the same applies to your body. Building a solid stability foundation will only lead to better strength gains throughout your journey. This is why I heavily preach that beginners do a lot of ground-based exercises to start, as ground-based exercises aren't super unstable like standing on a Bosu ball to where it will significantly hurt your strength and your hypertrophy gains, but it's challenging enough to where you're working on your stability. Mistake number 3, picking too unstable exercises. You're probably pretty confused because I just said that most beginners pick too stable exercises, but there are beginners that also pick too unstable exercises. As I mentioned earlier, your central nervous system is huge for when you're starting out. A beginner's central nervous system doesn't know how to efficiently recruit muscles. This is why you hear a lot of the times that beginners make strength gains not from the muscle mass that they build, but from the central nervous system gains, aka your central nervous system learning how to fire the muscles more effectively. I like to say to beginners that when you just start training, you're training your central nervous system more than your muscles. Exercises that are too unstable is too much of a jump from not lifting weights ever to lifting weights. This is why I preach using a barbell more often than using dumbbells. A dumbbell bench press is less stable than a barbell bench press. So beginners should start with barbell exercises like a barbell bench press, a barbell row, and then progress to less stable exercises like using dumbbells later on when they're ready. The 4th mistake is taking the core out of the movement. Since my brother and I preach athletic bodybuilding and building functional muscle, we love to include the core in all of the movements that we do. So many bodybuilders hate the core and want to get it out of the movement, but the core is used for every activity you do in daily life. When in real life have you ever been laying down or sitting down when you're lifting anything? Unless you play some sort of wheelchair sport, you're never doing that. So you shouldn't be doing that at the gym either. An example is a military press. A standing military press is more functional and will translate to real life better than a seated military press. As I mentioned earlier, building a solid foundation is very important for beginners, and having a strong core is a huge part of that. So many bodybuilders like to say, oh, the core, I want to get the core out of the movement because it's a limiting factor. Yeah, it's a limiting factor because your training when you started sucked and you took the core out of the movement, so now your core is weak. Starting early on by incorporating the core into your movements builds a solid core foundation to where later on down the line or years down the line, your core isn't a limiting factor, and you have more functional muscle in the process that will help you in real world activities, and if you play sports, it will help you so much in sports. Mistake number 5, relying on external equipment. I'll be honest, I fell victim to this. Whenever I barely started started lifting, I had seen so many bodybuilders wearing belts, wearing knee sleeves. So I was like, if they're wearing belts and knee sleeves, why won't I? I wore a belt for all the lifts you could think of, like a squat, deadlift, and military press. And after my lifting experience and my education, I realized that I shouldn't have been wearing a damn belt. When in real life are you wearing a belt or knee sleeves to do any sort of activity? Yeah, that's right, never. So you shouldn't be wearing it in the gym. The belt also doesn't allow your abs to develop optimally, and you become reliant on external equipment for stability. Imagine saying, oh, I can't squat today because I forgot my belt. You sound so soft. There are a lot of people that state that belts and knee sleeves are used for safety, even though there's a lack of evidence that they help prevent injuries. And in my opinion, belts and knee sleeves give you false confidence to do weight that you can't handle. If you need external equipment to do a certain amount of weight, you can't do that weight. Not using a belt and sleeves early on will help you avoid the dependence on a lifting belt and knee sleeves to perform at your best. And also it will stop you from looking stupid and soft. Number 6, focusing too much on the mirror muscles. The mirror muscles are the muscles you see in the mirror. So your abs, your chest, your quads, your biceps. But doing this will lead to imbalances that can lead to further problems down the line, with the less severe problem being muscle imbalances and the most severe being pain and injuries. I fell victim to this when I started out. I had super small arms and all I wanted to do was crank out biceps every single day. As a beginner, you need to be training every single muscle. Not only will it help you build a strong and aesthetic physique, but it will help you prevent injuries in the future. Mistake number 7, hiding from bad ankle mobility. Pretty much every single beginner lifter has terrible ankle mobility. And if you look online, bodybuilders will tell you to put plates under your heels or to buy fancy squatting shoes. But all that does is hide from the problem. I'm alright with beginner lifters putting plates underneath their heels to reach a full depth squat. Beginner lifters should work on their ankle mobility for about 3 to 5 minutes per day until they can achieve a full depth squat without assistance. Mistake number 8, ignoring posture training. This has to be the biggest mistake that I wish I started doing when I started training. I didn't start incorporating posture routine until I learned it in my 5th year of physical therapy school, and I had been lifting for years. If I had incorporated posture training right when I started, I'd have amazing posture by now, and I would have had amazing posture since I started. A typical bodybuilding routine doesn't work on your posture, so incorporating posture training when you're a beginner will only lead to a more aesthetic physique and amazing posture down the line. Mistake number 9, doing way too much volume. Like I mentioned earlier, some beginners train like they're pro bodybuilders. They train way too many days, do way too many exercises, and do way too many sets. When you're barely starting out, your muscles aren't used to this stimulus, which can be a good thing because your muscles will respond to a lower stimulus, but because your muscles aren't used to the stimulus, it recovers worse. So if a beginner lifter did C-bombs workout and worked out 6 days a week, they will recover way worse than C-bomb, which will only lead to overtraining. Beginner lifters should only train about 3 to 4 days per week and then slowly progress to 6 days a week as they become more advanced. And mistake number 10, doing way too little reps and doing way too much weight. I'm gonna use another sports analogy here because I feel like it helps you understand it better. I played competitive basketball when I was younger, and in order to learn how to shoot, I didn't start by shooting freaking 3-pointers. I started by shooting right next to the basket, working on my technique. And this concept applies for beginner lifters. Beginner lifters shouldn't be lifting a bunch of weight, low reps. Beginner lifters should be doing high reps, lower weight to train your nervous system. Getting more reps in will train your nervous system better, and you'll be able to learn the movements better. Just like any sport, doing more repetitions of a technique will help you learn it better. Beginner lifters should start off with higher reps, so 12 to 15 reps, in order to learn the movements and then eventually progress down, adding the weight and lowering the reps. Like I mentioned before, beginners are training their nervous system. Doing the higher reps will train their nervous system so they don't get hurt and have a solid foundation for when they do heavier weight. And a bonus tip for you is not to be discouraged and to keep going. When I first walked into a gym, I thought everybody was looking at me. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing and I felt super unconfident. So if you're feeling that way, just remember that it's normal, and the more you go, the more comfortable that you'll feel. And because I know how hard it is mentally and physically to start lifting, I'm going to be giving you an exclusive offer to my beginner program. It's a 3-month program that will help you progress into more intermediate and advanced lifting program. I'm currently charging $67 for this program as I put a lot of time and effort into this program, as well as me being a qualified professional. Because I know how hard and intimidating it can be to start lifting weights, I'm going to be giving you a generous discount. If you use code GRIND, you'll get 50% off the 3-month beginner program. So now you have no excuse to not get started and change your life. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned a lot from it. If you have any questions or video ideas, please leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed the video, subscribe.